Board Member Drake?
Here.
Board Member Neisel?
Here.
Board Member Steen?
Here.
Board Member Van Blarkum? Supervisor DeSclafani?
Here. Make a motion to approve last month's minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Supervisor's report. Vital statistics, 352. Ambulance donation, 300. Ambulance fees, $13,293.37. Town clerk fees, Easy Pass, $152.50. Cell tower rental, $2,121.34. Building permit fees, $25,516. Dog licenses, $63.50. Zoning, $225. Charter franchise, $16,930 and 94 cents. Unclassified revenue, summer rec, $1,055. Highway revenue, $6,823.70. Marshall and Sterling reimbursement, $501.90. Justice fees, $6,243. Tax penalties, $31,193.21. Reimbursement for Cottington retirement, $311.02. Aflac reimbursement, $367.58. Cornell Cooperative reimbursement, AWSMP, $10,673.75. Composting grant, $5,488. WC reimbursement for the police, $350.79. Grand total of $121,962.60. We're winding down our summer rec program at the end of next week. We're still working on some Pine Hill stormwater retrofit. There's a few new developments. We'll be starting to reducing our scope to just the upper part of Pine Hill. The parking lot and some of the firehouse property. And we're gonna leave the lower Main Street properties until we figure out what we can use. So to make it move a little bit quicker, we're just doing the upper portion. SLR, a candidate planner for our comprehensive plan, will give a presentation next week at the comp plan meeting on Monday at 7 o'clock. They were going to give a presentation tonight, but due to illness, they canceled. And our intrepid Vinny has finished the hot water heater at the museum.
Intrepid.
Yay.
Can you guys turn on your microphones?
Mine's
Good
not turning on.
idea. Here
It's
I
on.
am.
I can see it. It's
Oh,
right
yeah?
up there, yeah. Tap it. There you go.
Very good. No light.
We have a resolution for repair on our 911 radio service up at Bel Air Ski Center, and I'm going to have a deputy from Ulster County come and speak to us about that.
Thank you for having me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Steve Peterson. I'm not sure if this is on.
Is it green?
It was green. Now it's red.
Oh, it's got to be green.
If you want to look at that.
We had it green.
Okay. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Steve Peterson. I'm the Deputy Director for Ulster County Emergency Services. I work in interoperability, working on the radio system and other special projects that we're doing in the county as far as our 911 center. Recently, this is about the Bel Air site, and I've been working with this issue since May 10th, when the first cut occurred up on Bel Air. I would say that it's the lack of communication that is most concerning with the scope of work that they've got going on at Bel Air. So they're doing a lot of work on the site, and if we were brought in, if other agencies as well were brought in to discuss what we have on the summit as far as radio communications, along with the other agencies, we may have been able to mitigate some of these issues. But the first cut was discovered on May 10th. We were able to go up and splice the lines back together on May 11th to put it back in service. And then there was a subsequent cut after that, which we went up the next day and put that back in service. There's a communication line that they put up on ski lift 6 from the bottom all the way to the top. They had to remove the old line and put up a new communication line. And they communicated that with us, but that work was to take a week, and then they were going to do splicing, and then we would be able to finish that splice to get our equipment back on the air for the folks here in the town of Shandaken. That was not done. That was not communicated. It wasn't until last Thursday the splice occurred on the top of Tower 8 on the ski lift. And then we went up the next morning and was able to restore one pair of copper lines out of 3. The one pair brought us back paging and EMS. Fire and response and command systems that we use to communicate with the fire departments is still out of service. I'm hoping that Wednesday is when they'll be able to do that splice with better weather, and then we'll be able to get back up there and put that all back in service. Further downstream, we've got a contract with Verizon to bring a new circuit from the Bel Air maintenance garage back to the communications center, the 911 center in Kingston. Dedicated circuit, and once we get that into the maintenance garage, we'll be able to ride Bel Air's fiber to our tower, which will make it more effective and more safe, hardened in the long run. And we are also in the process of looking at tower sites here in the town of Shandaken, which we will be coming back to the town board with further plans. One is in Phoenicia. There's land up above the Phoenicia water tank that's currently for sale. And then Big Indian, we're communicating with landowners in Big Indian for a site. And then also up on Bel Air, whether it's going to be on the Orta property, state property, or it'll be on the Bel Air Ridge where the current tower is up there now, the cell tower is up there now. We work on our radio system with Motorola Solutions, and then we also have a contract with Tectonic for the feasibility study for the construction of the towers. So, I mean, I know that these folks, they need, everybody here needs to have radio communications. We need to be able to communicate to keep the public safe, and it's very extremely important to me personally and to the county as a whole.
Thank you, Steve.
Sure.
Does anyone have any questions for Steve? Hillary?
Have they looked at co-locating on the water tower? Is that at all a possibility?
The water tower in Phoenicia?
Yeah.
Sorry. No, we have not. They don't typically work out. We have a lot of equipment that for our radio system, and they don't work out very well for
Co-locating like that? There are no cell towers, cell antennas can utilize.
Yeah, that's one cellar, right? We've got different separations and we have that backup power.
I don't understand what was the cause of the cuts to the line.
They were cut during construction,
Okay. Is the construction finished?
not yet.
No, so this could happen again?
With the new communication line that's up there, I'm gonna say that it's less likely to occur because they've installed a new line all the way up on top of the lift. It's gonna go down to the maintenance garage and it's gonna go up to the summit. So all of the work is in between.
Okay, so they're not working on the lifts in that area?
No, they're still working on it, but the lines are up, lines are in place. So they're not subject to the damage.
Do you think this is more a communication between Florida and you guys, or is this more of the contractor to Florida, or?
No, it's an order contract, right? So if you're gonna schedule that kind of work and plan that kind of work, you need to take into consideration everything that's up there and bring us to the table sooner, so that we can prepare.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
It's a communication issue between
It's-
Florida and county.
It comes down to a communications issue, yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say, if we had the type of rain here that they had down below several weeks ago, we'd have been in big trouble here. A couple of weeks ago, we were at the park, we had a call. The guy came over later and wanted to know where we were. No siren, no pagers, no nothing. So, we didn't respond.
It's
You know,
it's terrible.
just because it's a state facility doesn't mean that they can't talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, they need to communicate, what they're doing.
And I live like 200 feet away from the firehouse, and I didn't, you said you did a test Thursday, my pager never went on.
Late in the day on Thursday.
Pardon me?
Was it late in the day on Thursday?
I don't know what time, I was home all day, so I don't know, my pager never went off when yours went.
What day was it? Thursday or Friday?
It was Friday.
It was Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
After that-
Late in the day on Friday, not Thursday.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I was home
They
Friday.
did the splice on Thursday, and we went up on Friday morning, and by the time we got, everything all completed, it was the end of the day on Friday.
Well,
Yeah.
that paid work.
Yeah.
My place. I'm down in the valley. And then I also heard the police go off later that night.
Okay.
And I respond, or we had back to 911. Same thing, I responded. That one up this morning for our alarm.
Okay.
That's up to my work this morning.
Yeah, we still need to get fire response.
And how it worked.
What kind of formal complaint has been lodged with ORDA by Ulster County?
At this point, we have not lodged a formal complaint until we can get the matter resolved. And then we communicate with them and explain to them the importance of getting it up. And I know the folks here have been in touch with them as well.
It just seems like a paper trail about these kinds of things, because we've had other problems with them up there about not following the law. And so I think having a paper trail of these kinds of discretions is really important.
And what about our order rep?
So the county has a representative on the ORDA board. I believe that is Frank Cardinale, who I can't say I've ever personally spoken to. One question I had is, if I'm not mistaken, maybe within the last month or 6 weeks or so, I believe Bel Air put out a management plan, a new management plan for their area, and it entails, I believe, quite a bit of construction over the next, multiple years. I'm not sure there's a question there so much as that might be worth being apprised of, because I believe there's quite a bit more construction planned at the Bel Air facility over the next decade. I have no idea whether that might impact these lines or how, but it does entail, I want to say it was a few million, $100 million worth of capital plans. So,
Well, what had happened was they moved an actual tower from one building to another and had to relocate the lines. Getting those lines back together again has been what's been the problem.
It's mostly a matter of if there's been a breakdown in communication,
Yeah.
if they're planning on doing fairly extensive improvements to that parcel over the next decade, it might be very important for those communications to get improved for obvious reasons, but
Maybe that type of work could include a new tower for us on the summit.
to be honest, I'm not sure I would, yeah, I couldn't answer that, but yeah.
And then we would be able to connect it with microwave, where we would eliminate phone lines and fiber lines. And it's on the air, 99.9% of the time.
Is there anything that the town board could do to help facilitate those communications?
We'll bring that back. We're going to be, like I said, we're going to be working with Tectonic. They're doing the feasibility study. And I know the state police and the DEC and all the other agencies that have communications up there are in the same situation we are. And if there is, I mean, we're going to communicate with you folks anyway, because
Yep.
we need to go through the planning process.
Yep, please keep
for
it
the sites.
open.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you said about recognizing that then there's still this whole corridor that doesn't come into service. Because even if you're not on the speed map, you can have an emergency.
Yeah. That's
So
right.
that's like huge for our visitors, it's huge for our residents.
Right.
So it would feel kind of like we got the short end of the stick if they made a mistake and got everything restored and got whatever else they're gonna get, and then we don't get anything down here delivered.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking at Phoenicia, Big Indian.
I just want to say
Bel
I
Air.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The Phoenicia site should push up into Little Valley, is what the coverage map shows. 0. Yeah.
John?
11 years ago this month, we had Irene. We had bridges built faster than they spliced a simple line. There is absolutely no excuse for this. As a firefighter in Big Indian, as soon as we leave the building with a truck, we have no communications with anyone. That is not acceptable, ever. Florida and the county needs to make our communications #1 priority. If their place catches on fire, we can't even go up there, because we don't know it's on fire. This is ridiculous.
Totally.
And this not only happened with fire, it happened with ambulance and police. Since June 18th, this line was cut, and until this week, it didn't get repaired. For a simple wire line? Seriously? Somebody's not paying attention. And somebody really needs to be paying attention.
Thank you.
There is an old CATV tower just above Bel Air Plaza that I don't think it's been used for at least a decade, maybe more. It seems to be an ideal place to reach a great deal of the area. Why doesn't anybody use it?
Yep. That's on our list. Karen Borsel's record. Yep, I'm familiar with it. Joe and I have been up there, looking at it, and that's on the list. We want most elevation we can get initially, and if we fail on Bel Air, then we can start to look at it.
And about a month ago, I was driving up Academy Street, going on Main Street, and there was smoke coming out of the top of the utility pole. I was lucky that my truck was in one of the few spots in Pine Hill where I had a cell signal. I was able to call 911. 911 was not able to reach any of the fire departments for quite a while this telephone pole was burning from top to bottom. It took about 20 minutes to get crews there because of complete lack of communication.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Thank you, Steve.
So should we add that liaison onto the resolution?
Frank Cardinale? Yeah,
Frank Cardinale?
I believe so, yeah, because the
Cardinale.
town of Shandaken does not have a liaison to ORDA, but Ulster County does.
Okay.
Let's move into communications. Joyce?
Okay, so all our events are listed, as you know, on our website, shandaken.us, on our Facebook page. For people that hate Facebook, you can go to our website. Also, Ellen posts all of our events on Channel 23, so that people that don't go online, or the elderly, or whoever, just get to see it. So the big news in the clerk's office is you can now pay town bills on the website, shandakenpayments.com. Building and zoning fees, dog licenses, water bills, registrar fees. Applications that you will need are in fillable format on that website. You can pay by credit or debit card, and if you don't wish to pay the 2.6% fee for a credit card, you can pay by e-check, which is a $1.50 flat fee. So we have that option on the website. And next month, March Gallagher's going to be here with the Digital Citizens Committee, which we've been meeting for about a year now. And she's going to update us on broadband in the area, which also she addresses the issue of cell towers as well. So on the Facebook page, and I'll be adding it on the website tonight, there is a questionnaire. So this is basically what we went through last year, that we found out that there were many citizens in Shandaken that were quoted astronomical prices by Spectrum to be hooked up to cable. There was one business on 28, it was the gun club. They were quoted $40,000 to hook up to the tower, or the pole out on 28, whereas a neighbor down the road was quoted $1,200. So we don't understand, and this is what March wants to find out. So they went with MTC cable, by the way, at a minor fee. So this is an issue. We've got people all over the town. I have maps and everything, and many people responded last year. So we want them to respond to March's questionnaire, because that'll get everything in black and white for her, because she's a tiger and she'll go after these people. So she's going to be here next meeting. Bring your friends, find out from people, have them go on Facebook and the website and fill out that short questionnaire. Like, do you have cable? Why not? What were you quoted? What are your neighbors paying? Something like that. Where's the nearest cable? You know, up in the hollows, there are many places that don't have cable. We know that. So we're trying to get this fixed. So this will be the thing to do. And that's it. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Joyce, if this is on the town?
It's on the Facebook. I just posted it again this morning, and I'll put it on the website under news on the right. I'll do it when I get home. Yeah, I'll put it on tonight. Shandaken.us.
All right, we're going to move into committee reports. Ambulance. Kyle?
So I'm going to take the ambulance report. You'll see why in a second.
All righty.
2023 has been a year of breaking records for the ambulance, as call volume has seemingly skyrocketed to new heights. The weekends are not surprisingly our busiest times for calls. However, the balance of calls for service are not from our town patients, a huge difference in our patient demographics versus the winter months. Speaking of broken records, or sounding like one, we are in desperate need of one full-time paramedic and a number of part-time paramedics to fill our roster, just in case someone in town or someone watching has a colleague or relative looking for some extra work. The full-time position includes benefits, state retirement, deferred comp plan, and many other things that a commercial ambulance service doesn't offer. The applicant must have a valid New York State Department of Health paramedic card, ACLS and PALS certification, CPR certification, and be able to obtain a medical advisory certification by the Hudson Valley Regional EMS Council within 2 weeks of hire. As many of you may be aware, our beloved town council member and ambulance liaison Kyle Steen has fallen under the weather. This Saturday at 4 p.m., our great friends at the American Legion Post 950 will be holding a penny social meat raffle, with all proceeds will go correctly to Kyle and his family. As a reminder, American Legion Post 950 is located at 1045 State Route 228, Phoenicia, New York 12464. Please come out and support a great advocate for not only our ambulance service, but our town as a whole. Get well soon, Kyle. Richard Mullally, Chief of Department.
Thank you.
Repeat that time and day again?
It is going to be Saturday at 4. Yep.
Saturday at 4.
10:45 Veterans Way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the address is wrong.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that, I was
You'll
He
find
was
it.
close.
was
You'll
like
find it.
trying to figure out where that was there. Yeah.
If you don't know where it is, you really should.
Just want to quickly say thank you, Chief Muller-Liley. Thank you to everyone involved with the fundraiser. My family really appreciates it. And thank you to everyone who's reached out to me in this time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yay. Building zoning?
Building and zoning from Donna. Number of Certificates issued, certificates of compliance, 10. Certificate of occupancy, 5. Building permits, including demolition, 17. Floodplain permits, 5. And stop work orders, 1.
Thank you. Anybody have a police report?
I didn't get one.
You didn't get one. All right, Phoenicia Water, no. Pine Hill Water, no. Anything with the museum, Kyle?
Yes. Monthly report of the Shandaken Historical Museum, July 2023. Due to the illness of Kathleen Myers, the museum was closed the weekends of July 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and July 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. The museum reopened on July 21st when I took over as, not I, this is Catherine Ellen Stringer, when I took over as interim director. We are now open only 2 days a week, Saturday and Sunday, from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. In spite of closures and shortened hours, we had 35 visitors in July. The average number of visitors per month so far in 2023 is 40. Museum board members have been most helpful in reopening the museum. Mary Lou Stapleton, Richard Dares, and William Andrews helped fetching mail and orienting me to the office. My husband, Jonathan Baldwin, sorted and labeled locks and keys used throughout the building and made minor repairs. Bob Cal traveled to Kingston to have much-needed additional keys made. I purchased a new flag for the front of the building. The old one was in shreds. I changed the message on the museum's answering machine to reflect our new hours. I had 2 research questions later finished in August. I referred one person to Ulster County government to trace the original owners of a house built in 1920 in Chichester. I'm still working on its possible relation to the chair factory in that town. I found a transliterated copy of the Richard Nichols Esopus Indian Treaty of 1665 for a patron searching to see if any of her Rosa ancestors were mentioned. They were not. We had information on the family back to 1890. I referred to the Hurley Historical Society where they had actually settled. We look forward to the return of Kathleen Myers. Respectfully submitted, Catherine Ellen Stringer.
Thanks, Kyle, and thanks, Catherine, for stepping in for Kathleen. Parks, Sam?
Hey. So we had our last meeting on July 12th. We went over a lot of different things, including how the donation of $500 from Ulster Savings Bank and $1,500 worth of food from the food bank was given to the summer recreation program. Mandy said it was going very well and very appreciated. Next year we do have someone that may be able to go pick up like bread for Bread Alone, for weekend things for the kids to take home. So we're working on making sure that that's something that continues every year. We don't want these kids to go hungry. We have been working on our natural parks project. We've got a GoFundMe. That's on the Shandaken Parks Facebook page. There's a link to the GoFundMe. Thank you to everyone that has donated. Our goal is 10,000. We've got about over 6,000 at the moment. So at least some of that money is going to start with some park inspections and hiring, retaining Kareen from LAN Landscape Design. So she's going to help us make these natural parks. But in addition, I have Barbara Mansfield with me, who's been so very kind to extend her expertise in grant writing, as well as Robert Drake and Autumn Brookmeyer, who's really doing a lot of the legwork on all of this stuff. So we're going to form a committee of certain professionals that will definitely help us kind of solidify, hopefully, some of the funding. I don't know if you want to add anything to it. I didn't even bring the list. So. Well, the list, some of the professionals that we're looking for on this committee, whether it's, so it'd be like, we want to use some of the grant funding. We're doing planning for our grant funding. That's what we're trying to do first. Kind of take it one step at a time, include professionals and consultants, in coordination with volunteer committee of people with needed expertise to position Shandaken for a 2024 shovel-ready application via the New York State Consolidated Funding Application, Parks Department. We can even include, besides individuals, different organizations locally, like CWC, Catskill Center, a couple other local organizations we had mentioned. But we need transportation planning, trail connectivity, watershed planning, accessibility planning, tourism marketing, and economic development. We've got a few people that we're already thinking of. If anyone has expertise in those areas, please let me know. We kind of came up with a catchy name, thanks Robert, for our wild Shandaken Parks project. I The Shandaken Parks and Recreation revitalization project was just terrible. Uh, So that is our new little catchy project name that we'll be applying for grants for. So thank you, Babs, for your help. Robert, appreciate it. And again, keep me posted if you want to join that committee. Our next meeting for parks will be August 16th at Beginning Park.
Okay. Thanks, Sam. Sophie, anything on housing?
Thanks for asking. Let's see the list. Yes, sorry. Too many papers here.
H.
Okay, so the Housing Smart Committee, which meets fourth Mondays of every month, we're still looking for additional members. One opportunity you have to meet members of the Housing Committee is at the Housing Resource Fair, which is happening at Pine Hill Community Center on September 26th from 5 to 8 p.m. Sorry if anyone else was going to say that tonight, but we're kind of using that as like our coming out party, if you will, and like we want to meet people, we want to talk to people who are going to a resource fair where they're going to encounter other organizations and helpful opportunities in the realm of housing, and so we want to participate but also ask people for more insight. In lieu of doing a survey right now, we just want to kind of have conversations and meet people who have housing online. So if you can go September 26th, Tuesday, 5 to 8 p.m., we'll be there. And this week we talked about ADUs, accessory dwelling units, which feels like an interesting growth opportunity for our town and the environment that we're in, and how we can also direct those in like sustainable design and incorporate some of the challenges that we have with our environment, figure out how to just make better housing options. And we're also talking about the concept of upzoning and updating our zoning laws, because it's pretty understood in the world of affordable housing that making smart changes to your zoning laws opens up more opportunities for affordable housing. So our meeting minutes are on the town website, and there's some links that you can browse through and articles that we're reading as a committee about those types of things. Each month we're trying to have like a term of the day or a term of the month, and it's a way to just kind of make some of these terms and concepts more accessible. And then the other opportunity, there's kind of a short deadline, is something called the +1 Home Program, which is by RUPCO, and it basically, the details are on their website, rupco.org/+1home. But basically, if you are somebody who is already pursued with the planning board a special use permit for something that you want to become an accessory dwelling unit, there is money out there for you to make certain upgrades or improvements or repairs to that housing unit. So if you haven't done that yet, the deadline is September 8th. So considering how things go, you might not be able to do that from scratch right now, but look into it and hopefully more opportunities will exist down the road.
That grant is up to $125,000.
Right.
It is a lot of money.
And it's for an affordable housing rental. So the idea is you are not creating an ADU to rent for short-term capacity, you're
No.
creating it for
Housing.
for an extended, for 10 years maybe,
Right.
at minimum, so. that's-
Right.
yeah. But yeah, come to our meetings, even if you don't want to join and see what is going on.
Great. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank
All right. We have a mention and a motion as a budget workshop, and we'll do that in September. I'll have a preliminary budget in September that we can all peruse if anybody has any additions they want, but we'll sit down in September, we'll hash it out. Things that need to be adjusted, the parks and rec and summer rec and whatnot.
There'll be time to advertise? If we do that now, or?
Yeah, we'll have,
Not till the 12th is our meeting, next month. So if you're
on
gonna
the
have it like.
Tuesday?
Yeah, so if you're gonna have it like the following week or something, on a Wednesday, I mean, if you wanna just pick a day, because then I could put a legal ad in. You know how I like to put those in ahead of time. It's, September 12th is our next meeting. If you wanna make a budget meeting like on the 20th, on a Wednesday night or something. No, you can't do it that night. So that's the thing. Have to be a-
We could do it during the day. We
Oh,
could just,
okay.
it's just a workshop.
All right.
We could do it like, Tuesday, the 19th.
Oh, my God.
Sorry for this.
We're talking about the budget workshop, trying to schedule it for September.
So during the days.
Isn't great. I could do the 22nd. If that might work.
The 22nd?
Yeah, Friday.
Friday's.
Friday, September 22nd.
Friday, yeah, I guess we could do Friday, the 22nd.
What time?
Like 1 o'clock,
Daytime, 1 o'clock? Far enough in advance? Yeah.
September.
Yeah, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Make-
Okay.
Who wants to make a motion?
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a workshop, budget workshop. Got it. All right.
Let's, do you want to do it earlier? Do you want to do noon?
Doesn't matter to me.
Everybody okay?
Same-
Let's
same-
do noon. Sorry.
No,
All in favor? Aye.
I'm sorry, you're establishing a budget workshop for when?
September 22nd. I think.
At what time? Noon?
Noon.
12 noon.
Why not in the evening for the public to watch or sit?
It's
there's not
just
many
a
nights open with all
workshop
the
and we'll
meetings.
have a public hearing before
I
we
know.
do
Why
it.
would you do it in the middle of the day instead of the evening so the public can watch? Most people work during the day.
Because,
Just
look,
asking a question.
well, every night is
We've
booked
never
up.
really had much public involvement with the budget.
We didn't have a budget workshop. You're just establishing, I'm just asking. Okay.
Unfortunately, every Monday night is taken up, the Wednesdays are taken up, and court is Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Exactly. Tough to squeeze in.
I'm simply asking a question. Let them do what they do.
All right. Let's move on to resolutions.
Did you do public comment on resolutions?
Oh, yeah, public comment on resolutions. What am I doing? Thanks, Robert.
Vivian.
Viv,
I want to make a suggestion, maybe we need a liaison to ORDA. Is that a possibility? Because you
Well-
said we don't have one, and I started thinking, well, why not?
Well, so Ulster County, it's not a liaison, it's actually a board member. ORDA's board includes a individual who is elected by, I believe, the Ulster County Legislature, although I'm not 100% sure on that process. I mean, we could maybe ask, but that's a different level of, like, we're part of their governance structure. Ulster County is part of ORDA's governance structure in a way that town of Shandaken is not.
Well, typically, the ORDA rep has been our county rep. And so that changed this last, I guess.
a
last
few
term
years
or
ago,
so.
yeah.
And I wonder if maybe there's an opportunity to put forth someone for that position when it's next available that might have better connections to our town, since we're the ones that are most impacted by what goes on up there. I don't even know, I think the gentleman now lives in Kingston.
Could be in somewhere other than here. I'm not sure where he lives.
It's sort of disconnected, so if maybe we could find out when that term is up and have somebody.
I'll
ready to
inquire.
put forward.
Yeah. We'll poke around and find out.
Before we give announcements, or?
We do announcements after the resolutions and just regular general public open comment time, but this is just about resolutions.
I did have a comment on one of the resolutions.
Please.
So for the bid for the Glenbrook Pavilion and bathrooms, it just sounds so vague. Are you gonna put together like a list of specifications?
I'm gonna put together a punch list.
So that
The one
people are
end where
bidding
the,
on the same
Yeah,
thing, so
exactly,
right now it's
exactly,
kinda like,
yeah.
who's what we're gonna get.
Joyce wanted to put it out get it out advertised, but I'll put together a punch list of things that need to be done.
Well, there should be at least minimum specifications for what the bid needs to cover, so
Yeah.
that we know that we're getting.
This is exactly the conversation we had earlier today. I brought up the same point.
Yeah.
30 years in construction, yeah, exactly what we're
Right,
talking
so
about.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, because otherwise somebody's gonna be like, I'm gonna patch the roof and it'll cost you
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
$1,500, and
Yeah.
somebody's gonna tell you.
We're
how
gonna,
to
we're gonna
do
sit
it
down and do
right,
exactly
and
this, a
it's,
nice bid leveling worksheet, yeah.
Good, great.
thank you.
Usually with the bridge
Ellie's on
projects
it.
too, they'll have a list, and like the highway department will have it, and Carol email it to them, and then they'll have the list
We
and the
just don't have
supervisor.
anybody whose job is specifically.
Yeah, it would have to be a
maintenance
company.
Or building.
Well, it's a roof, it needs a roof, and it needs,
Yeah.
yeah, the bathroom has to be ADA compliant, things
So
like
yeah.
that, so it's, yeah, they'll have a list.
I'll repair it, I got marble for that.
On the resolution for the 2 new town highway trucks, there are dollar values, and then after the dollar value in brackets.
It should say the same amount, 500,000. I don't know, but it should be 500,000. It reads 500 and then it said 400,000, but it should both say 500,000.
Wow, Carol sent me that.
Can anybody explain, I presume that what follows is the company that's going to finance this? Is that correct?
Finance department.
Part of it.
So therefore says 400,000 and so the total is 500 and then on the bottom where it says 280, it's really 350, which.
Two taxes.
I don't know, Kara sent me that, I have no
Further
clue.
resolved has a
Oh,
word
yeah. What-
amount and a dollar amount.
Did-
on the amount.
Did you do this, Eric?
So that can be-
Which is the
So
correct one?
which is it 280 or 350?
This is what happens now. We ordered a truck almost 2 years ago now. We still haven't gotten it. By the time these 2 trucks come in, it'll be a year and a half to 2 years. The 2 trucks they're replacing will be almost 25 years old. They're done. So if I can save money, not buying machinery or something, we put it in the capital improvement line at the end of the year. So the more money I can save, when these trucks come in, it'll be the less we finance. So hopefully by the time we get, and then I can use part of our chips coming towards the trucks too. So the least amount we need to finance, the better off we are, because they charge us what it is, or leases for this. And we have, the way by state law, we have to do municipal, which is very regulated on how we finance this thing. So the whole idea is to try and save up as much money when we get the trucks, have to actually get the finance for.
But do you know which of these numbers is right?
Yep, at the end, it says be it further resolved.
That should have been correct.
But 350 or 280, we have 2 numbers.
What is it?
350 or 280.
What is 300?
Okay.
300 for both of them?
Do I hear more?
So,
Hopefully it's a lot less from that time.
Okay.
So people know that trucks increased $40,000 a year.
Any other questions on, or corrections on, oh yeah, John.
I just want to say thank you to the board for putting forth the resolution on the 911. It was imperative, and very coincidental, that it came up on Friday.
Yes,
Thank you for the board.
good timing.
Yeah. And you might want to invite the representative from Florida board to come speak to us.
Great idea. Thank you, John.
I have a question about the
Jan.
resolution about, who's in charge. And so it just seems like, in addition to imploring Ulster County Emergency Services, don't we want to alert the DEC that this is happening? It just seems like that this is something that we're sort of incidental to. I mean, it's affecting us, but we're begging for it, whereas really, should we be alerting the agency that is responsible for ORDA that this is like a very serious problem. Just so,
Well-
there's just something about imploring Ulster County as opposed to imploring DEC to monitor their subjects.
Well, ORDA's a authority, right? They're not subject to DEC. They're their own.
Well, they're a law for their land.
They-
They're quasi-public authority, but their funder
Yeah.
has some concerns about.
I will make DEC aware. Thanks.
Can I just add something about ORDA, since we're talking about them? It would have been nice if there had been some communications from them about a day of helicopter work that went on and on and on. I don't know what else is going up on the mountain, but all of the deer have been pushed down into the hamlet where they are invading the properties, and there's been summer deer feeding in Pine Hill that I haven't seen in 20 years.
That's odd. Well, yeah, because usually in the summer, the deer are up in the
They
hills.
go up to the mountain, they don't come down from the mountain, but there
Yeah.
has been an incredible amount of construction and noise coming down from the mountain, and it's probably pushing the deer down.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
probably-
they were installing the new lift towers for their new, the new triple lift. So hopefully that's done this week.
Thanks, Kevin. Anyone else? All right, let's move forward.
Resolution 9523, resolution to pay all bills. Whereas the Department of Audit and Control require town boards to sign and inspect all vouchers coming to the town for payment to number and total amounts from each fund. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board authorize the following vouchers paid. General, $222,493.93. Highway, $190,787.88. Phoenicia Water, $3,872.46. Pine Hill Water, $2,364.21. Phoenicia Lights, Chichester Lights, Pine Hill Lights are all paid by monthly for a total of $419,518.48, and move its adoption.
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
Board Member Nysel?
You want a second?
Second first.
I'll second.
Oh,
if you
okay,
wanna
I already
throw
wrote
that
you
to-
down. I thought you were gonna.
Go ahead.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Barkum?
Yes.
Supervisor Discopani?
Yes.
Resolution number 96-23, approving town CSEA highway contract. Whereas the Shandaken Highway Department employees are contractual employees of the town of Shandaken, and whereas town officials, employees of the town highway department, and their respective CSEA representative recently met to negotiate renewal of their contract with the town, and whereas all parties in attendance had reached an accord, and whereas the Shandaken Highway Department employees met on July 19th, 2023, and by majority vote ratified the contents of the new contract. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Shandaken Town Board hereby approves the contract as negotiated for the period of January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2028, including all terms agreed to through negotiation and ratification, and moves its adoption.
Second.
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
Board Member Nysel?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Barkum?
Yes.
Supervisor Discopani?
Yes. Resolution 9723, Town Maintenance of Pine Hill Cemetery. Whereas recently the town of Shandaken was approached by the trustees of the Pine Hill Cemetery to take over maintenance of the cemetery. Whereas pursuant to New York State Town Law, Section 291 requires towns to take over previously or currently owned by cemetery board when abandoned. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board of the town of Shandaken hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign such documents as to take into action as may be required to acquire the title of Pine Hill Cemetery and maintain it. I move its adoption.
Second?
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
Board Member Nysel?
Yep.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Barkum?
Yes.
Supervisor Discopani?
Yes.
Resolution 98-23, advertising for bids for repairs at Glenbrook Park. Whereas the town of Shandaken owns Glenbrook Park located at 48 State Route 42, Whereas Glenbrook Park Pavilion is in need of repair, which includes but is not limited to the roof. Whereas the grill area as well as bathrooms will need repair as well. Whereas the town has ARPA funds available to assist in this repair, therefore be it resolved that the Town of Shandaken Town Board hereby advertise for bids to repair Glenbrook Pavilion and bathrooms, and that any interested individuals or corporations who wish to bid on this repair may schedule an appointment to inspect the area, or may inspect the area on their own. Email for additional information, supervisorshandaken@gmail.com, and that any bid for the repair be submitted along with a minimum of 3 references to the Town of Shandaken Town Clerk's Office, located at 7209 Route 28, P.O. Box 67, Shandaken, New York 12480, no later than 3 p.m. on Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, and must be in a sealed envelope clearly marked on the exterior of the envelope in large black letters Glenbrook bid, with said bids to be opened and read aloud at the regularly scheduled town board meeting that evening at 7 p.m. and moves its adoption.
Second?
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
Board Member Nysel?
Yep.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Van Blarkum?
Yes.
Supervisor DeSclafani?
Yes.
Resolution number 99-23, resolution for purchase and financing of replacement highway vehicles. Whereas the Town of Shandaken Highway Superintendent has identified 2 vehicles for replacement, and whereas the Town Highway Superintendent has identified these vehicles available through an Onondaga bid, as well as available financing for said vehicle costs, and therefore be it resolved that the Town Shandaken Town Board does hereby authorize the Town Supervisor to approve the purchase of 2 2024 International HV 507 dump trucks with plow bodies, including front plows and wings, for a price not to exceed $500,000. Be it further resolved that the Town Supervisor be authorized to enter an agreement with Key Government Finance, Inc., located at 726 Exchange Street, Suite 900, Buffalo, New York, 14210, for $300,000 for a period not to exceed 7 years, and move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
Board Member Nysel?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Van Blarkum?
Yes.
Supervisor DeSclafani?
Yes.
Resolution 123, resolution requesting emergency service communications repair. Whereas Town of Shandaken has no cell towers within the 18 miles along the State Route 28 corridor, whereas the Town of Shandaken Emergency Services rely almost wholly upon Ulster County 911 radio system antenna, which is located at Bel Air Ski Center and operated by ORTA, which is used for most emergency communications, fire, ambulance, police. And whereas the communications have not been functioning at least since June 18th, this affects the Mount Tremper, Phoenicia, Big Indian, Shandaken, Pine Hill hamlets. Also, when there is a fire in Big Indian, Oliveria Fire District, their station alarm does not activate when the radio system is down. And whereas when 911 radio system is down, emergency services cannot communicate with other departments for mutual aid and assistance. Therefore, be it resolved, due to the critical need for this service to operate correctly, we implore Ulster County Emergency Services County Executive Jen Metzger, ORTA, the Olympic Regional Development Authority, to immediately repair to function operational status the emergency 911 radio services located on the tower at Bel Air Mountain Ski Center ASAP, and move its adoption.
Second?
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
Board Member Nysel?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Van Blarkum?
Yes.
Supervisor DeSclafani?
Yes. I also want to bring one more thing up. The Phoenicia Water Engineering Report is needed to be updated for a grant application. It could cost up to $20,000. If we want to, we can use ARPA funding for that or take it from Phoenicia Water.
This is for SLR to update their numbers.
Yes. I could write this up as a resolution for next month, or we could just do a motion tonight.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the first part because I'm watching the water dump in the door over here. Can you give us one more time?
Updating an engineer's report we had for a prior grant application for Phoenicia Water. We'll be taking out the actual loop or the main that will run down High Street because the county is going to do that for us when they replace the bridge. But we need to update the engineer's report, and that will cost approximately $15,000 to $20,000 from SLR. Update their prices, update add more stuff to it, whether we want to have the water tower cleaned and et cetera. But it's just an engineer's report.
Gotcha.
We could take it
And-
out of Phoenicia Water or use ARPA money to do it.
Yeah, I'd rather, if we're gonna move forward with that, have it on next month's agenda so that we can think it over for the month and.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, put that in your bonnet. Okay, comments, open comment period.
Hi, I'm MJ. I'm from the Conservation Advisory Committee, and I'd just like to make an announcement about this upcoming
MJ,
film.
use the microphone so the people at home can hear you and address the board. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is MJ, and I'm from the Conservation Advisory Committee, and I'm reminding people that there's a beautiful film documentary called Just Eat It, a food waste story. It's at 1 p.m. Sunday, showing on August 20th, and the admission is free. And this is basically an award-winning film on the wonders of where your food ends up. We all love food as a culture. We even devour countless culinary shows, right? But it's amazing that nearly 50% of our food is thrown out. And in a society where 1 out of 10 people are food insecure, this is an important note. So come watch it. The film reveals relatively the insignificant issue has worldwide consequences. And this is sponsored by Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency and the Shandaken Conservation Advisory Committee Council. And we partnered with the Phoenicia Playhouse Community Theater. And that's in Phoenicia, Sunday at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Thanks, MJ.
Across the street from the Ecomoose Restaurant,
Can I get your name, sir?
Andrew Messenger.
That's right.
Across the street from the Ecomoose Restaurant, there is a very long and tall retaining wall that is in the state not of disrepair, but seems very close to a catastrophic failure. Several of the galleries have already caved in. The concrete reinforcing rods are sticking out. There are piles of dirt off of the road. I know this is not a town responsibility, but I'm wondering if the town has communicated with the state at all about this, because if there is a failure there and that hill comes down, it will take with it a main power supply, and it will probably block a portion of Route 28 for we don't know how long. It would be nice if we could find out what the state's plans are, and if the state has no plans, it may be time for us to start taking the appropriate actions with our local officials.
I'll poke somebody at the state.
You aware of anything, Eric?
Can't get in the page 243.
I mean, it's been pretty remarkable there. I have wanted to park there for about an hour and count the number of complete failures, but it's happening so quickly, I would count one day and the next day there would be another failure. So
Wow.
please vote.
Those, yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
those, but in some cases,
It's
it's
the
those
uprights
this
too.
tall.
Yeah,
And there are power lines up there, and if those stanchions get undermined, a portion of the town will lose their power.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Oh, yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name's Tanya Baracalo, and I live in Phoenicia. And I've introduced myself to a lot of you already. I was encouraged to come and talk to the board because I've talked to a lot of individuals, but I'd like to let the larger community know that I'm interested in starting an after-school nature-based program for like 5th graders to 8th graders, and have it be like intergenerational, so having the retired community come in and volunteer teaching and interacting with the kids, as well as possibly hiring professionals that do things like tracking or bird identification, all kind of nature-based activities that they could share with the kids. But basically just like a safe place where kids can come and just commune with nature and be in the outdoors, because I think I'm hearing a lot of complaints from parents that their kids are plugged in, and there's been evidence to show that that's not necessarily a good thing. So I want to kind of get kids back outdoors and kind of target the kids that before they get into like middle school, where things kind of get very difficult. So this is like a place where they can kind of have their own tribe and commune with each other and connect with each other. I do have a draft proposal that I'd like to leave with Joyce, and I just want to get a feel for like if the town is like interested in somehow supporting this in one way or the other. I've had people indicate that they are, and so I just want to kind of put it out there, and I'd love to be able to meet with anybody who could talk to me about that. If anyone is interested from the community in talking to me about sharing their expertise, can I give my phone number? Am I allowed to do that?
It's up to you.
Yeah, it's 688-2810. And so my idea is to have it in Phoenicia, because that's my community, and also to reach out to like the Ontura School District. So I'm hoping that I can figure out a way to get children dropped off there after school, so it would run from like 3 to 6, and in hopes that this would be sort of an expansion of the summer rec program, you know, to deal with the kids. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya.
Where would it be housed? Where would you go?
Oh, right, so all of that is in the process of being figured out
Are you
right
at
now.
Library or churches, maybe? One
I've
of those?
spoken with, the town. I would really love to have it out of like Parish Field, because that's kind of central. You have the mountains and the trails right there, you have the creek across the road. My intention is, I have experience, I was a outdoor wilderness counselor before, where we were in the woods year round, all kinds of weather, and so outside of like freezing rain or whatever, if it's snowing or drizzling, I would still have the kids outside. So it would really only be in times where they couldn't be outside for, risks of their health, that I would try to find a place like Parish. I'm talking of Parish Hall right now, the fire department. I'm going to be talking with Liz Potter to see if maybe the library could support it, but those are still all in the works right now. And also, I'm hoping that my intention is that it'll be tuition. There will be a tuition for this, but that for children that can't afford it, there'll be some kind of scholarship program, because I want it to be open to everyone.
Yeah, and Tanya, you and I have had several conversations going a couple months back now. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think the more youth programs we can have in the town only benefits the community. I think I don't want to speak for anybody else on the board, but it's finding how we can facilitate it best and help it move along. So thank you for presenting. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You said after school, it's just, so you want to run this all year round?
It would be basically during the school year, and then it would like dovetail with the summer rec program.
Okay.
And then maybe I would start up again when summer rec stopped, and then I could take those kids.
Okay.
If they needed additional places to go.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ted?
How you doing? I'm Teddy Byron, Chief of Phoenicia Fire District. I've been talking to a couple of the town board members and Peter. The police and the fire department are looking into buying a side-by-side for emergency uses. It would have water, all kinds of, we have these trails now, we just can't get on. It's just another tool in our toolbox that'll help things a lot easier. So I've talked to Peter, and he says he would help us with a grant, or what, he can explain more. What?
Yeah, I would put out a congressional request.
This is the bid, or what it costs and
Right.
stuff, so.
There's a few avenues to go in just to see if we get any nibbles statewide. There's some opportunities.
If anybody has any questions, they can call me or ask me now.
And I'll make copies of these and get them in your mailboxes. And if we don't, then we could talk about maybe an ARPA thing from our account.
Olive got a grant for just exactly that much long ago.
Olive did?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
What is the side-by-side?
It's like a big ATV, or a bigger, more utilitarian.
It's a vehicle that has water, you can go four-wheeling up in the mountains. We got these rail trails now, like the pedal carts down there, the lower half is 2 miles of, you can't access it with a vehicle. So if someone gets hurt, you know it's gonna be at the end of it. You know, that's just.
No.
So, but it'll be for forest fires,
Yeah,
police
Yeah.
want to be able to use it on their events.
yeah,
I know during the floods, we had where, like Olive Maria, we had four-wheelers running, bring medicine to people.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
the road just wasn't that accessible, so.
Where would it live?
Well, that's all in the, that's in the works yet. We gotta make sure we can get the personnel
Yeah.
to talk about that.
yeah, yeah. Frank?
There was just an announcement that Michelle Lynch, got $25 million for the fire departments and emergency services for things like this, so.
Exactly.
Contact her.
Exactly, yep. Sophie?
Hello, Sophie. Usually I come to talk about the farmer's market. This is related to the farmer's market. I did want to say first, congratulations to Christina Varga for putting on a great festival this past weekend. It's not easy to put on an event, especially every day of the weekend. So I just want to give her a shout out and everyone who participated. Okay, so the thing I want to do is ask you for permission to invite a new program to the farmers market. It's something called a Cannabis Growers Showcase. And all it requires is municipal approval, which means someone's gonna call you after the application is received, and you would ideally say, yes, we approved this. But it doesn't require a law, a resolution, and as I understand, our town did not opt out of cannabis activity. So this being a temporary pop-up of a seasonal agricultural product, the idea is this is a nice low-impact way to bring this product to the community, to the farmers market, and to provide a really important outlet for growers of cannabis in New York State. So I did prepare some words. But basically, a Cannabis Grower Showcase was created to support growers of cannabis who lawfully have entered into the cannabis industry with really no viable sales channel. They said, yes, you're legal, you can grow, but then there wasn't actually a system yet in place for the sale of that. At least one that actually values the work that a farmer does and allows them direct sale to the consumer, which a farmer's market is designed to do. And for us, with an emphasis on health, wellness, and safe understanding of the plant, we're prepared to invite a specific Cannabis Grower Showcase to educate on the agricultural product. The showcase consists of a food truck-like vehicle housing a partnership of 3 licensed cultivators and 1 licensed retailer. So all these people are already licensed to grow cannabis and sell cannabis. And they would in essence be a market vendor, similarly to how we have local producers of craft cider, beer, wine, and spirits at farmers markets currently. So there's no consumption of the product on site, FYI, but all the town needs to do, like I said, is to provide permission. The application has an organizer. I know this person on a professional level. They're also the compliance officer of the event itself. And, I'd say the advantages to town are an increased traffic and tourism, as this is a new development. This is a brand new program that just started last month. But what I think the opportunity we have is an experienced event producer, an experienced market organizer, working with someone who's also equally experienced in their field, who have also been working closely with the Office of Cannabis Management and the Cannabis Control Board. So the other benefits is testing the market for a future dispensary. Presumably if we said we didn't want to opt out, there was interest in having some sort of cannabis available in our town. But true to the farmer's market, direct access to locally grown product. This is lab tested, it's clean, it's a medicinal plant, and it's often used as an alternative to conventional Western medicine. And one farmer from Windfall Farms, who participates at our market, leases their preserved forever farmland to a participant in this particular showcase. It's all grown with the sun, it's all pesticide and chemical free, so it's basically the cleanest stuff you can get. But in particular, knowledge of strains is helpful to talk with the person who grew it, who has the expertise and knows how to consume it. It's much like talking to your butcher or the produce farmer on how to cook something. So having the direct connection is what the value is here, making sure that people are educated when they're buying this product. So the applicant name is Oak Queens LLC, and I'd really love to count on the town's permission for this organizer to apply to do a one-off. The application is for a single date, so we're talking about one pop-up event, which we would then thereafter have an opportunity to discuss and assess whether that was successful or not. And obviously they would do that too. If they don't make any money, they might not want to come back. But yeah, so we get to test the market. And you know, for the market's purpose, like, we're about educating the public, we're about gathering community and having an experience together where we're emphasizing local, seasonal, and direct contact with the person who is growing the product. So, yeah, what do you think?
Can I ask while you guys think about that, can I ask a quirky question?
Quirky, yeah.
So it's like medicinal marijuana also, correct?
It would be,
It's all medicinal.
Well, I know. I'm thinking back to my days in Ontario.
technically the
Yes, I
term
know.
is adult use recreational.
So here's a question. There's some seniors
Yes.
up at the senior living that go down all the way to Kingston to that place to
Yeah.
get their powders for their tea, for their knees and their joints.
Yes.
Does this guy have that, and can they use their coupons? Hey, there you go.
The federal funded program to buy groceries would not apply since
Even though it's a plant.
they still have
not a fruit or
not
vegetable,
actually
right?
legalized it on the federal level, so
Okay.
they don't even want to touch it. But those seniors would be, maybe we'll have a special senior
discount.
hour, yeah.
Oh, they'd be so happy.
But yeah, I mean, the benefit of, so in New Paltz right now, in a week or two, there's gonna be one of these showcases. This is their word for it.
Yeah, just
Initially, when they said there could be direct sale, they were calling it a farmer's market, which everyone was like, you're not even
But
working
they have
with
the
it.
other versions, like powder
Right,
versions. for
but we have
medicine.
but we have an
I think those
opportunity
are
to
things we
bring
would wanna at
them
least
within the kind of already established
Yeah.
environment of the market, which I think is
They might
safer.
call our
Hopefully
leads.
the board entrusts me with kind of handling the interface and the logistics with this showcase. But in New Paltz, they're doing it as like a totally standalone event, which I think for our town, it makes more sense to be in this sort of agricultural educational framework as opposed to like a truck rolls up on Main Street next week and they're just selling weed. So I think like if we can do it in a controlled way, we want to be part of how this new sales channel can be created.
During our regular market and.
Of course.
Just to clarify a point for Joyce, medicinal marijuana cannot be sold by retailers of marijuana. They don't like to mix it because.
Oh, they
of
don't
the
do
traffic.
that then,
So
so they
don't
would-
expect to come down with a prescription to fill it.
So I'll
back
tell
with
the old
retailers.
ladies not to do
They
that.
don't mix and match. You have to go to your prescriber for medicinal marijuana.
Yeah, they bring up.
Yeah, if they're already like set up with somebody, I don't know that it would necessarily replace it.
Farmers market, prescription and garbage.
They don't do that, okay.
But, you know, with that comes everything else that we do, which is educating people on how it all works. So, of course, we want to help anyone who maybe is confused or has something that isn't necessarily part of what we're doing, yeah.
The one thing Robert brought up, we do lease the field,
Yes,
and we would have to check with our lessee.
sure. The one thing I just want to encourage the mindset of everybody in this room.
I think we're all,
We can
We're-
still,
we are
we can still
selling-
pass some, a motion supporting it. We're
Yeah.
not doing anything else other than that, but we should check with parish.
yeah.
I-
You know, again, one time.
Would there-
I get it.
It's like,
I have nothing
we're gonna
against it.
identify
My-
one
You
date,
almost got
right?
me.
And the idea is we identify it close enough to now where, because we're operating through October 29th, there would be potential to do it again before the end of the outdoor season, because we're not gonna bring that inside, and especially not to the community center. So this is like an outdoor thing for our outdoor season, you know, and if it is, everybody hates it, then everybody's saying they hate it. But it's something that we want to help pave the path forward. I'll just give a note that I'm on the board of the Farmers Market Federation. Like, nobody's really moving any of this forward, right? Everyone's kind of like waiting in the wings to see what happens. At this moment in time, like, we could actually do this and it would be legal and compliant and safe. But that, as time kind of goes on, it's unclear how Ag and Markets, Department of Health, you know, just within
All
the
these
framework of
other-
farmers
yeah.
markets. But what I think we can do is kind of set an example of how this can happen responsibly and safely and in a coordinated way.
Oh, I'm sure that it will all be very responsible and,
The other concern that I would have, and it's probably an easy thing to check, but it would just be if there's any implications for our insurance.
Right.
Because it is something that could, you know, plausibly be located in our insurance policy or not present there. So, I mean, I would just want to make sure that we're covered of any concerns that might arise
Yeah.
there.
And I could also connect all of these dots with the actual organizer and the showcase participants, because as a retailer, they're insured as well. And if there's some kind of thing we need for them to either produce, like proof of insurance, or add anybody in particular
And
to
you
the
guys are
policy.
insured as well, right?
And we are too. There's all
Yeah.
sorts of insurance.
I'm sure if they're licensed or insured, they would have to be to get their license
Which
and all
the
that, but,
process for that was
Yeah.
so rigorous
I'm
that
sure.
I imagine that's why they just are like, say yes or no, or like that you approve
Right.
it or not.
yeah.
Because there was no other formal avenue to say that the town was just at least aware of it happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Babs.
I'm curious, is there like, and you may not want this, but like, is there land that isn't owned by the parish but owned by the town, like a little road that goes to the park?
I think just that road is owned by the town, but as I've learned
Would
with the
that be-
parking
could it-
situation.
Could it be parked there instead of on the field?
I think it's like,
I mean,
we would have to ask Murad, I think. That's his property.
It would be an easier sell than.
But the thing is, if it's out there, it's like not there's only so much oversight, or we would have to kind of like splice our resources, which I'm not opposed to if they would feel more comfortable with that.
I would just have to look at the lease that we have with the parish, just to make sure that we're not cutting our nose.
Okay.
And talk to our lawyer, but is anybody opposed to it otherwise?
No.
No, okay. So we are for it,
Okay.
if everything, if all our
Insurance and lease.
insurance and
whoever
our
answers
lease.
the phone might be the person that needs to really know that. So I want to make sure that.
That could be anybody.
It's-
Bob could pick up the phone.
Oh, he's for
No.
it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he
Ask
would
him
be.
to- They'll call the supervisor's office, that's all.
Supervisor's
He'll let
office,
them
and the
know.
supervisor will make sure that they.
So do you want to let her know for sure before a certain day, after we find out, or call tomorrow?
I'll follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
follow up.
Okay.
Give me a holler
Thank you for
tomorrow.
your
I'll be in by
consideration.
noon after my meeting in the morning.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. If anyone has questions, please.
So last year, you had purchased a vehicle for the Felicia Water District. I just want to revisit something. You purchased a vehicle without board approval for the Felicia Water District. When it was discovered, you scrambled and had the board approve the purchase of the vehicle. The vehicle was then found to be not roadworthy. You couldn't auction it because it's not roadworthy. Then you made a deal where you had Rick, I guess, paying it back, and it was gonna take him 8 years to pay it back. I don't know why you're shaking your head at me, no, because this was confirmed at meetings, go back and watch the tape. What I'm curious about is that Rick came to me a number of weeks ago and said, hey, that truck that you've been asking about is taken care of. I said, how? He said that Joyce came up to him and told him, don't worry about the truck, and that he's no longer paying the truck back, and it was taken care of. Can I ask how it was taken care of? Because I don't see a record of it being auctioned off. So I'm just curious, did it get auctioned off, or?
It
what
didn't.
happened?
Well, since he mentioned me, can I speak first? I said to Rick, Rick was thinking he was gonna pay us back, and he talked to Barbara and the girls or something, and he says, oh, I wanna take $50 out of my paycheck a week. So I saw him in town, I go, Rick, you can't do that, that's ridiculous, it's illegal, you can't do that. They'll take care of whatever, that's all I said to him, but he can't pay off out of his paycheck $50 a week. He didn't do it, I told him he
That was
couldn't.
confirmed by Peter at a meeting, that he was doing that.
We were originally
$50 a
going
week.
to do that, but we never took any money out of his account.
I said it was
So,
ridiculous.
but again, so I'll go back to, did you ever recoup the $5,000 you spent of the Phoenicia Water District money on a truck that was not roadworthy, that was never inspected?
We,
And how did we?
it was
recover that?
inspected, it was registered and inspected when it was purchased by Rick. It's still sitting, we never did auction it off yet. At the next round of auctions, it will go into,
Is that truck roadworthy? Will it pass inspection?
I doubt it.
No, the answer's no, Peter. I don't know why you're around this. It can't pass inspection. He didn't get it inspected. He put an inspection sticker on it, a temporary one. What?
When
You
he
guys
bought it,
insured and everything.
when he bought it, it had an inspection sticker on it, a current one, and it had a registration. He went to re-inspect it because it was running out, but it was already a presently,
After you purchased it for him, correct? He went to get it inspected.
yes, no, it was inspected, but he went to get it re-inspected because it was close to being run out. He was getting the registration and the inspection.
Okay, well, you spent $5,000 of Phoenicia Water District money. I'd like to know how you recouped that.
I didn't spend it, we all spent it. It was the whole board.
No, you spent it because you cut the check before talking to the board about the purchase. The only reason the resolution came up before the board is because Rick sat at the back of the room and said, I got a new truck. When we dug deeper in that meeting, he said, yeah, they bought a truck for the Phoenicia Water District, which was a surprise to the rest of the board. How did you recoup the $5,000 spent on the truck?
Why, how would I recoup it? What are you talking about?
You spent the money, you lost the money of you lost $5,000. You took $5,000 of Phoenicia Water District money, bought a truck of your own decision and volition. Then it came to the board and all that stuff. But the truck was no good. It wasn't checked out by anybody. It turns out to be no good. Where that $5,000? You just took a $5,000 check from Phoenicia Water District taxpayers and wasted it on a truck and did not recoup that money. That's what I'm getting at. How do you recoup that money?
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for your comment. Any other
Looking
comments?
to recoup it via auction? Okay.
At the next auction.
A year and a half.
Any other comments? With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn in memory of Salvatore Calderese, James Miller, Thomas Walsh, Alfred Higley Sr., Wayne Hambrick, and Keith Langston. Do I have it here a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
No, we didn't have our name tags out. Oh, well. Hey. I was ready to collect them at least.